good evening, and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. We always say that, don't we? What are some of the other alwayses of Christmas? Things we always do. We always sing carols, or maybe go to church. We might always eat turkey or ham or soup or some other special food or meal, or always play that one card game or board game once everybody's here. We always light candles. We always decorate. It may change from person to person, but there are a lot of alwayses for each of us to this time of year. Unfortunately, this year, even just this week maybe, we've been having to consider what it might mean if we don't get to do some of those Christmas things we always do. But that's just it, isn't it? We're thinking about the things we do. And don't get me wrong, that's good. Most of the time, in fact, we should be mindful of our actions and learn about how to live a life that is transformed by God's grace. Even in the sermons for the past few weeks of Advent, we've been talking and thinking about how we prepare for Christ's arrival, what we need to do, how we need to act. But Christmas is something we can't do, something we didn't do, something we don't bring about. Tonight, Christmas is all about something God has done. Christ is born, and that just is. Whatever we think could stop Christmas, it can't. Christmas is here. And God's love breaks through anything and everything. That's grace. It's something of God's that God has given to us because God chose to do so. It's there, undeniable and unstoppable. Nothing, not anything, not different songs or misplaced decorations or canceled gatherings or even a pandemic can stop that. Christ is born anyway. Christmas comes anyway, and God's love and grace and wonder and mercy breaks through into the world anyway. That's so beyond anything we could do, or anyone could do, really. Think of the shepherds, the innkeepers of Bethlehem, other travelers for the census, or anyone else, anywhere in the world that first Christmas night. They're just going about their usual tasks, living their lives, and then this happens, and they respond. And we all respond to God's grace, as those shepherds very clearly do in our reading for today. But the thing of it is that the grace isn't something that we make or earn or do. God's grace, God's love is there for us, but also kind of independent of us or our work. It's not our doing. It's God's doing. The gospel reading contains a lot of different people living a lot of different lives. And things kind of seem to go wrong and become messy, don't they? I mean, here we are in a stable, a barn, a side room shelter for the animals. Yet Christ is born in the midst of all of this, or despite all of this. Christ is born. And the world won't. It can't stop that. The world cannot keep God's love away. It cannot stop God's grace, and it cannot block God's presence. We do all sorts of things too. I mean, we're teachers, students, musicians, engineers, artists, hairstylists, electricians, poets, construction workers, landscaping workers, entrepreneurs, readers, and so on. We're all sorts of people. And we make all sorts of decisions and work at all sorts of plans. But now we're here in this moment. And we get to just celebrate Jesus. To marvel in awe and wonder at the miracle that is tonight. This is a special night. It's a different sort of night. It's a night we hear the familiar story and once again remember how God's love breaks through anything and everything. It's a night we pause to recognize the truth of God's grace. Nothing stops that. Whatever is going on, whatever is happening, Christ is born and Christmas is here. Grace and love and mercy and salvation. Emmanuel, Prince of Peace. Christ is born. That's the always of Christmas. Amen.